Welcome to Real Time, Florida Sportsman. This week, we're fishing out of Islamorada. It's time to find the shortest route to the hottest bite. We scan Florida Sportsman's regional forums for the best fishing reports, then travel to make real anglers our local guides. Give me some of that! Together, we let you in on secret spots and hometown moves. That's what I'm talking about!
Oh yeah, she's done for now.
In this week's episode, I team up with Brittney Novalsky, aka SaltwaterSportswoman, in the Keys section of the Florida Sportsman Forum. We explore the Gulf and the Atlantic side of Islamorada. Step into the boat! Ah, I didn't do it! I got the camera boat here! All coming up on Real Time, Florida Sportsman. Getting into town, we rolled into La Siesta Resort in the heart of Islamorada. You know, Islamorada is known as the sport fishing capital of the world. We're super excited to be down here. The bite has been going off. We got settled in, and the next morning we met up with our guest host, Brittney, and launched the Triton at the La Siesta Marina. All right, pulling out of La Siesta first thing this morning, Brittney Novalsky, aka SaltwaterSportswoman.
That's correct.
On the forum, we're down here in Islamorada. You know, beautiful Keys. What do you got planned for us?
Today, I think we're going to head out to the Gulf. We're going to be looking for a variety of fish from triple tail to hopefully we'll land that big cobia that I've here been catching out there, and check all what else is out there.
So we came down with the plan of, you know, the weather this time of the year is kind of sketchy. You never know really what it's going to do. So we have some east-southeast winds, which makes the, you know, fishing out front on the reef a little tough today. So it's great down here. You have the option to go out in the Gulf or, you know, fish the ocean side. So Brittney's plan was to fish the Gulf today, so we had to stop and pick up some live shrimp.
Plenty of live shrimp, just because you never know, and just to assure that we'll have that variety out there. Everything loves a shrimp.
That's everything eats shrimp. Leaving Islamorada, our plan was to head into Everglades National Park. You know, it's quite a haul, 25, 30-mile run, pretty well protected in the Gulf. You know, and today we were greeted with a lot of wind. Our plan was to maybe just fish for pelagics exclusively, but with this wind, we decided to play it safe and head out into the Gulf and see what that had in store for us. Brittney mentioned there might be some cobia where we're heading, so the best bet for them is to have some live bait available. We made a stop on the grass flat, put out some chum blocks, and it didn't take long for the pinfish to show up. All right, so we made the run from La Siesta, about almost a 30-mile run. We're sitting out in the Gulf. This is typically, you know, kind of the pattern that you do. You run out here and fish these markers. Right,
we pretty much stay outside of all the islands and channels and banks and cruise all the way out here. We have this NOAA weather marker, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna use the pinfish that we just caught in the cast net, and we're gonna add some weight to it and drop it down to the bottom, and hopefully our live shrimp and smaller pinfish will catch some other variety species, Spanish mackerel, small permit, sea trout. There's a whole variety down there.
So we're pretty much sitting out in the desert, you know, and any kind of structure like this, I guess, is what's gonna hold the fish, so. Exactly,
just like how the triple tail hang out under the buoys. The fish are just traveling and they're looking for something to stay safe under.
All right, set up today. Trocar 6.0 circle hook out here in the Gulf. 80-pound Berkeley tinted fluorocarbon. You know, just a 1-ounce lead. Pretty heavy stuff today. 80-pound spider wire, 8,000 new Penn conflict. You want a bigger rod and reel out here. She said there's 40-pound cobia. You know, in this structure, you don't want to be messing around. So we're just gonna throw them out there. Let me get down to the bottom. Pretty easy stuff, that circle hook, just let it sit in the rod holder. Hope that Mr. Cobia come along. Find my pinfish. We fished this first spot pretty hard. You know, we gave it some time, and there was actually some markers nearby that we tried as well. But you know, today just wasn't the day for these cobia. We just didn't even get a bite. We decided to pick things up and head further up into the park, get along some shorelines and look for some snook or tarpon. All right, so the markers didn't work out. What's this?
East Cape Canal.
East Cape Canal. Working the mouth of this canal. That tide's pushing in right now. It's getting ready to change, but just looking on these ambush points on these corners. You're throwing a pilchard, I'm throwing a gulp. So neat with in that Islamorada location is you can just, you know, short trip out here, you can be fishing in the Everglades, fishing out in the ocean, fishing out in the Gulf. There's a lot of opportunities here. We started fishing the shorelines of East Cape Canal but the tide just wasn't right. So we made our way up into Lake Ingram. You know, getting to Lake Ingram, the tide is just starting to fall, you know, and setting up on the points and at the mouth of this, they call it a lake, but really it's probably just a bay. Setting up at the mouth of these is, you know, it's amazing the amount of water that's coming out of this area. You know, and the predator fish just sit at the mouths of these creeks and just wait for the bait to come out. You know, really not much action out front today. We tried just about everything. It's been pretty slow, and a lot of days it's that way. You just got to keep moving and trying different stuff. The great thing about this area is there's so many different things that you can do. One thing's not happening, you just can't be afraid to pick up and try something else. So here you teach a lot of fishing classes. Seminars to women?
Yes, I've grown up fishing my whole life. I grew up in the Sebastian area fishing, and as I've gotten older, I've just realized that I was having a hard time finding other female anglers to fish with, because what was happening is they're going out on the boat, but they're not really taking care of any of the tasks that are involved with fishing, because the guys on the boat are just kind of taking care of everything. So I just decided to, you know, try out and see if I could get a group to come to a fishing class and make it interactive, where it's a woman teaching another woman, so it's comfortable, because sometimes you guys get a little aggressive and hurt our feelings. And then we just shut down. So I figured, you know, woman to woman, you're gonna learn something.
This segment brought to you by Mercury Marine, celebrating 75 years of marine excellence.
You know, so the first day is a pretty tough day, and unfortunately this is how fishing goes. You know, the best laid plans don't always work out the way you want. You don't always catch fish. We decided to head back in, you know, re-nourish ourselves with a great dinner, made plans to meet up in the morning and to fish the Atlantic this time. So getting out the second morning, I'm greeted to heavy winds again. And you know, what are you gonna do? It's the Keys, it's winter time, you can't predict the weather, you gotta make the best of it, so I just went ahead and picked up Brittney. So what do you think? A little breezy, not too bad. You think we can get out front?
Definitely. I think it's gonna be maybe a little sporty for us, but I think it's gonna be a beautiful day, and I feel like we're gonna have some good luck out there. Our target is sailfish, but we can also catch dolphin, we can catch blackfin tuna, and maybe a kingfish. We're gonna drop a bottom line and maybe catch some snapper.
Awesome.
So a whole variety down there.
That's pretty commonplace in the Keys, this type of fishery. And we come out here and do this, go on that reef line, so I'm excited to do it. So the area that Brittney's been fishing is a pretty good run, you know, and to get to it, we didn't want to run on the Atlantic. We ran to what they call as the backside, or the Gulf, and it's well protected. We made our way all the way down there and came out at Tavernier Creek. So heading out of Tavernier Creek, the conditions are not quite what we were hoping for. You know, it is pretty windy, and the further off we're getting, the rougher it is. We make our way out to Conch Reef. It's just this little patch reef, one of many that line these keys. We set up on the anchor and prepare to get some bait. So technique down here to get bait is not that difficult. You know, it's pretty simple. They just set up on anchor, and we're like sitting like 20 feet of water. You know, get the chum bag out, and 5-10 minutes later, it's amazing what comes behind the boat. You know, there's ballyhoo, sardines, cigar minnows, everything you need for a day out on the water. We started out sabiki and some cigar minnows and some sardines, then they really started to show up. So I got the cast net out and made some throws. Yeah, I'm seeing some ballyhoo starting to show up.
Yeah, it's always good to have plenty of bait. We got some goggle eyes and ballyhoo and sardines. We have some pilchards. So variety is best.
What do you think? Got enough bait?
Yeah, I think we're good to go. We're gonna fish a couple on the kite. We're gonna fish a couple just out back without the kite, and keep a variety out there and hope for the best out there.
All right, we don't have a long run. Let's get on it. Let's get to it.
We're real close by, just off the reef here.
We had a short run out to the area that we were going to fish. We set up in about 140 feet of water, and amazingly, once we got set up, it was pretty comfortable. Well, as you can see, the conditions are snotty.
It's a little sporty out here for us. We've got a couple baits out on the flat lines behind us, and we just are putting our second goggle eye up on the kite right now.
Flying two baits off the kites. It's blowing pretty good, probably south at 15. We're just gonna work down this reef line, right?
Yep, we're just
for a
gonna
pelagic
drift
bite?
and we're gonna stay about 120 to 150 most of the day.
So yesterday we stayed inside the Gulf because conditions were so bad. You know, but I've seen in your reports, this is what you were doing. We were gonna try to get out yesterday. The wind was bad, but again, today is not perfect as well. But this is kind of what you love to do. This is what I see you doing.
Yeah, we're out here in the perfect combination of sailfish weather. So I love to be offshore, and this is the weather that the sailfish love. So it might be a little sporty for us, but it's the right combination for getting a good bite.
It's true, you know, when it's nastiest weather, it's when they chew. It's amazing. They like that stirred up water. They can swim, you know, down sea, and flies the kite perfectly in a day like today. Great bait position. A little uncomfortable for us, but you can tell Brittney's the real deal. So we get the spread out. Brittney's manning the long bait. I have the short one on the kite. You know, and talking to her, she says these fish are swimming from north to south, so you can pretty much predict which bait's gonna get eaten first. Doesn't take long, and she gets the bite on the long bait.
Yeah, we got a little dolphin on here. We're waiting on our sailfish bite. Working its way in. Usually when you're out here trolling, schools of dolphin will come by and snack on what you have out there.
That's a pretty little fish.
Yeah, I'm
So
glad.
often the case when you're sailfishing, you know, these guys swim in, but you know what? It'll be good eating.
Oh yeah.
Look at those colors.
Good dinner tonight.
Let's throw them in the Yeti.
This segment is brought to you by Power Pole, swift, silent, secure.
Today's seminar, I'm going to talk to you about keeping your catch cold. You know, in Florida's warm climate, it's really important to get your fish on ice right away. You know, the fish starts to break down, the taste of the fish will be compromised, and also cleaning a fish that's ice cold is a lot easier. What I like to do is load that Yeti up with ice prior to heading out. I got a full cooler of ice the morning of my trip. If I'm gonna catch some fish, I'm gonna go ahead and throw it right on the ice. What I like to do as well is take a bucket of seawater, throw it in on that ice with the fish, and almost create a slurry. What that does is really lower that temperature and get that fish ice cold. You're gonna thank yourself when you're at the dinner table and at the fillet table. The Keys is such a great place to come, you know, all year long, but what would we say the best time to get down here and fish?
For sailfish, our season we can start an early season in November, and really we kind of had a late winter this year, so we're just now getting into that hot sailfish bite. So it just depends on, every year is different, but normally, you know, November, December, and definitely January and February are gonna be the peak months here for sailfish.
So the great thing about kite fishing is it's so visual. You know, you almost get hypnotized, mesmerized by watching your float, adjusting your baits. So I'm sitting there watching the float, you know, not paying any attention to the other rods. The next thing I know, I turn around, the bottom rod's doubled over.
Yeah, the bottom.
Yep.
This time of year, we're thinking might be a nice mutton snapper.
Ah, came off. Are you kidding me? Unfortunately, after fighting that fish for a while, he came unglued. Reeling him up and talking to Brittney, I guess there's some problems around here with sharks. You need to reel quick to get your fish into the boat. So we get set back up, and we notice off the back of the boat, there's a frigate bird actively feeding on flying fish that's getting chased out of the water by this dolphin. We can see this dolphin skipping out of the water after these baits. Great thing about it, he's heading right towards our bait. There he is. Yeah. He's there. He's there. We just saw this frigate bird kicking out. You know, bait was getting kicked up. Little dolphin swam into our short kite bait. So common, these little dolphin around here this size. That's not a little bad one.
Yeah.
You know, another good one is common size this time of the year around here for these.
Yeah, this is about the size, you know, it's not too small to let go, but it's just enough to keep and make a good sandwich.
They're so pretty.
Yeah, he's really lit up right now, huh?
We saw him chasing some flyers around. The frigate bird was after the flyers, and he swam right into the spread, ate the short kite bait.
One more in the box.
This segment is brought to you by YETI Coolers. Wildly stronger, keeps ice longer.
So visual, this kite fishing. It's like nothing you've done before. You get that bait right up on the surface and you see the fish come up and you can almost tease them up. You can pull that bait up out of the water and get them fired up. I have a goggle eye that is... Oh, you just got exploded on. So I'm watching my short bait and this thing is getting so nervous. He's digging, he's running around. I can tell that there's something on him. I'm sitting there staring at this bait. The next thing you know, I see the sailfish just pile across onto my bait. Oh, sail!
Where do you want me to be? Can we reel mine up?
I'm under you. I'm still under you. I'm still under you. So this is what you've been on. This is the bite you've been on.
Yeah, it's pretty much been an afternoon bite the past week or two, and that's what we're getting into today.
So this fish stretches me out 100, 200 yards right away. He's stretched out away from the boat. Brittney is still fishing the long bait. Notice some splashing going on by her. Next thing you know, she's hooked up as well. You got your Brittney?
Yeah, I'm on.
You on? So we're both hooked up now. We're doing the best that we can. You know, she's fighting a sail, I'm fighting a sail. This thing's got me stretched out. The next thing you know, I look down below the boat and there's another sailfish. You know, it killed me to pass. I'm like, no, I can't do it. Our hands are full. This thing swam away. You know, next thing you know though, he swims back to the boat. I don't know, I had to do it. I hate to do this, but I have to. There's one down there swimming, free swimming. He's eating me. Oh, he ate me. Okay, what do you do?
Mine's gone.
What do you do? Oh, he's jumping in the boat. Ah. What do you do? I got the camera boat here. This is crazy.
You want this bottom line in?
Oh, what happened? You lost yours?
Yeah. It's
Here, come take this one. Brittney had one on, lost hers. I flipped the goggle eye to one that was free swimming on the side of the boat. We got the camera boat next to us. About jumped in the camera boat.
We almost had one sailfish in the boat.
Did you see that thing jumping on the? He about jumped on the boat. Oh, we got one on the bottom rod now. Oh no! Oh, God. All right, let me go back and get the bottom rod. You fish with two people. What do? You put one in the rod holder, and you just wait on it.
This is incredible. The bite is awesome.
And you reel with one hand.
Oh, there he goes.
Reel with the other. So now she's fighting a sailfish, I'm fighting a sailfish. I go to the back of the boat. I have this bottom rod that's going off. I know I have to get this fish in quick after losing the last one to a shark. So I'm reeling this bottom rod in as fast as I can while it's in the rod holder while fighting a sailfish off the bow. Oh, and I got more dinner. Dinner and a show, that's it right there. So I reel the bottom rod all the way up, and wouldn't you know, it is a mutton. Exactly what Brittney said we would probably catch. You know, I have no time to celebrate. I throw this thing on the deck of the boat, get back up to the bow, and fight my sailfish. Talk about crazy. So, first sailfish came up, ate a short bait on the kite. Brittney got bait on the long, had one on. I saw another one swim up, pitch him a goggle eye right next to the boat, have two on. She loses hers, takes over this one, and the bottom rod goes off, and we get a beautiful mutton.
All at the exact same time.
Brittney, man, I am impressed. You're the first female guest host, and I tell you what, you're setting the bar high for the next one. Incredible. It's pretty funny that what you find is you can be sitting out there for an hour and not catching anything, not even a bite. And you get into a certain zone in these areas while you're fishing for these pelagics, and all of a sudden there's just fish everywhere. It's almost like the action brings action, you know, and you have to be ready to capitalize on that action. Look at that, how beautiful is that? Still got yours on there?
Yeah.
Woo! All right, let's focus on yours.
Good job.
This right here is the reason why you put a bottom rod out while you're kite fishing. You never know. You know, you cover the whole water column, one on top, one on bottom, even a mid-level depth bait. It's perfect. It's hard to describe what these sailfish look like underwater if you don't see it, you know, firsthand yourself. The colors are so vivid. Now this fish was striped up. He had purple that the most vivid purple that you can possibly imagine.
There she is.
How gorgeous is that?
Hooked just where we want it.
People travel far distances to catch that. And this is the place to do it in the wintertime. Islamorada. I tell you what, Brittney, from fishing and back in the Gulf yesterday to coming out here and doing this, it doesn't get any better. I appreciate you coming out with us.
I'm glad you guys can make it down and we can make it happen out here. It's been beautiful, tons of bait, lots of hookups.
What a great fish. All right, let's let her go. She's ready. Woo! Great job.
Nice to have you.
Strong work. Following Brittney's post in the Keys section of the Florida Sportsman forum, I knew she was the real deal. And traveling down here, I witnessed it firsthand. She had a great knowledge of the area, you know, tackle, techniques, bait. She knew everything about it. She was so well prepared, I can't even tell you. Brittney brought me way back into the Gulf side backcountry, and unfortunately the bite just wasn't what we wanted it to be. But she stayed positive throughout, and she was confident in her skills. She decided to switch things up for day 2, head out into the Atlantic, and prove to me that Islamorada is the sport fishing capital of the world. It was because of Brittney's post that I chose her to fish with. I need your reports to continue, because I may fish with you next on Real Time Florida Sportsman.
Well, good afternoon, Florida Keys. Good afternoon, all y'all out there. This is Captain Matt Bellinger from Bamboo Charters with your high noon fish report. Todd Monson is out with the guys from Real Time Television, Florida Sportsman magazine, I believe that is, with Brittney Novalsky. They just finished putting away a doubleheader of sailfish caught on kite, using kite baits out there. Bada boom, bada bing, they hook them up. They're going crazy. Todd's running the camera boat alongside. Sailfish comes tail walking by, almost ends up in the boat. Full contact fishing right there, man. They also at the same time hooked up to a big mutton snapper down on the bottom. So a triple threat of bites and fighting fish going on in the sport fishing capital of the world, downtown Islamorada. The guys are just offshore off the edge of the reef putting together a bite. Nice.